What's up, YouTube? Yeah, this 30-second delay today because we realized we were just chatting away, and then Ryan was like, "You realize it's on in 3 seconds." Oh, God.
Did you can see me when that bit starts?
You know, I wasn't looking, but yeah.
Oh, okay, because I think you've now indoctrinated me into it because I found myself subconsciously dancing to it.
You see, this is the thing. And like, anytime you watch a video, any video on YouTube, and it's got annoying background music, you start thinking to yourself, "I'm going to type how shit this background music is, get rid of it," and then 2 minutes in, you're like, "Actually, quite like it."
Yeah, well, that was a one-time thing. That's not happening again.
All right, interesting. Good to know. Well, welcome along, everybody. Hello, everybody listening on the podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Today, we are going to be talking about filtration. So I put what filtration is best or something like that. It's not about best. It's just what this is a self-serving live stream. So I'm just setting up the Cade. And
I see how it is. You're looking for ideas.
So I think I've decided anyway. I've got a filter in there. But I started to think, what should I get? And I just started running through it all. And I thought, well, let's talk about it. And this will be my free consultation from Ryan. So
there you go. So I didn't get my usual introduction.
I didn't do the intro, yeah. So I am Alex, aka Reef Dork, and with me as always is Ryan from the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk, where you can book a consultation.
And buy mugs. You can get mugs.
And buy mugs. You can buy mugs. Ryan, how are you?
There you go. Mark's in the. I'm good, thank you. But Mark in the chat has bought one of the mugs.
Has he really? Okay.
Yeah, he
has. Well, let me share the screen of the mug, so the good people of the internet can see them. So there's just 2 designs at the moment, right? Are these your photos? That is. I've seen that.
There's 5 designs, but I've only put 2 up. So.
Are they your photo? Is that your photo?
It's a photo from ages ago. No, it's not. Is the honest answer.
Okay, fair enough. I see. Making a profit off of someone else's.
No! Don't say that. No, that's not true. I have legitimate rights to use that picture for whatever I want.
I'm suspicious.
No, you can pay for rights.
Yeah. So I have a library of photos that I use for my thumbnails. Yeah. And once I paid someone. There was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he took a really cool photo. I was like, mate, can I use that? I'll pay you 20 quid or whatever it was.
I got mine off like a proper website.
Yeah, Shutterstock is good.
Yeah, something like that. I got it. It was literally years ago. It was obviously when I first started the YouTube channel back, so probably like 7 years ago now.
It's funny. I used to struggle for thumbnails, so I used to go looking for them all the time, and it was difficult. Now it's a lot easier to make with them. I don't know if it's just because I got used to making good thumbnails, that sort of stuff. I don't know. But...
If you say so yourself.
Well, yeah, this is true. I am basically the Mr. Beast of fish.
That's true. So
we're going to be talking about filters today, but we'll come on to that later, of course. Ryan, how's your week been?
Uneventful this week, thankfully. Normally I have something to tell you, but so far this week has been uneventful. I spent all day fragging in the coral farm.
Okay.
On Thursday. It's interesting because I always frag all my hammers and torches and frog spawns down to a single head. Mm-hmm. And then after a period of time, I go back and check them all again. Someone's got like 5 heads.
Cool.
So you see how they're constantly growing all the time.
What kind of time period is that?
I'll be honest with you, I can't, because I don't usually do them all at the same time. Yeah. So it's hard to say. I just thought actually some of these are getting out of control, so it's time to cut them back. But some of the frammers probably would be in the last, I don't know, 6 months, I reckon. Which I don't know if 6 months is a long time to grow 5 heads or not.
I was going to say, do you find hammers, and because everybody says LPS grow slowly, some do, some really don't. Some grow real quick. How do you find them?
So what, hammers or LPS in general?
Both.
The worst coral I have is one that grows out of control, and that is an LPS coral, which is it's a chalice. One type of chalice is like the Hollywood Star chalice. is just as bad as the Tropic Thunder that you have. I have some Montipora which grow out of control. But with regards to hammers and frog spawn, some of them grow faster than others, and it usually depends on how thick the branch is. The thin branch ones grow really, really quickly.
Yeah, okay.
The thick branch ones grow very slowly.
Yeah, okay.
So, and the wool ones grow even slower.
I do like that splatter. Is it like the marbled one? Is it what it's called?
Yeah, that's the one. That's one of the ones I fragged. So,
yeah.
In fact, that one grows really fast.
Interesting, because I'm looking at my the top of my my LPS tank, my water box, and I got a lot of torches up there, but so I probably shouldn't put anything else hammery up there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I have a very small update for the. Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
I was going to say lots of fragging, but carry on.
Oh yeah, and I had a very small update for the Waterbox tank. Is that I now have a lid for the Waterbox tank.
I saw that looked really nice, to be honest.
To be fair, I would look as always. I have to disclose that I'm working with they're called top lids. They came from America. They said to me, "Are you interested?" And I said yes, and then completely forgot about it. And then it just turned up, and I was like, "Oh, I remember like a few weeks ago because it didn't take that long to get here, considering it came from America." But it is like the Rolls Royce of lids. Are
these feeding hatches? These little bits?
Yes, and they're inset as well. So
nice.
Nothing's raised. If you look at it from the side, it's completely flat.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I quite like about it is that this is only on this tank. I'm not tall enough to see it. The tank's quite tall. You've obviously seen it. So you know how you would, if you put a net on your Waterbox tank, for example, you would be looking at the net down on, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because the tank's higher than me, you don't even notice there's a net on it.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
So it'll keep the fish in. That's the main reason to have a net. But it's also it's probably like structurally like solid.
Yeah. Oh, it's in two. Is it two sections?
Pieces, yeah.
That's brilliant, because then you can just take one off and easily. Because taking off, I've got one on my main tank from London Aquatic Design, and it has two cutouts, big cutouts, but they are slightly raised. It's fine, but it's just like and then but when you take the whole thing off, because I wanted cutouts, I got to take two cutouts off and then lift the whole thing off. Whereas actually, if I'd have gone for that in two sections, I think that might have been better.
I thought I would notice that it was in two sections, but not like when I first put it on, I was like, am I going to see like a gap in the middle?
Yeah.
But not literally, not even noticed it once.
I don't notice purple birds, so if I don't notice that, you're not going to.
You'll be fine, but you do notice a slightly raised lip on your one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's because once you've seen it, you're like,
yeah.
But no, that's nice. I like that. Do you know how much that would have been if it was?
I actually don't, because I didn't ask.
I bet it's expensive because that's a big lid.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it is a big lid, and yes, I actually don't know. It is the honest answer. But as I said,
so that's your update. And I've just realised I can see an urchin.
Yeah.
On you.
I'll be honest with you, I was slightly concerned because the same as with you, if you get a product that you don't like, you'll send it back. And this was like custom made for the tank.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope this is everything that I'm expecting it to be. Yeah. And when it turned up, I genuinely was really happy.
That was one of the. So as soon as I saw that on your Instagram, I was like,
you want one?
A little bit. But I've got lids for all my tanks anyway, so I don't need it. Cool. So, and actually there was one comment I wanted to put up from James, who was suggesting bicep mugs.
Do you know what I actually did? And I've thought about doing this. Do you remember where I put your head on the woman? Yeah. I got that picture and I put it on one of the mugs. Because it was obviously just on my laptop for some reason. I'm just keeping it there, for future use if I need it.
That's weird.
And and I genuinely, when I saw it was one of the images I could it was just there. I could see it click easily. I was like, I'm going to see how this looks, because I might get one made. I'll just get a sample made.
That I want commission out of that.
Yeah, well,
because that will sell a lot, especially to the ladies.
Yeah, definitely to the ladies. So,
but yeah, cool.
Actually, it's obviously you've got long hair in that, so it will sell it potentially to the men as well. So,
I remember the days.
Oh, and you had long hair.
Yeah, on my passport, my first ever passport photo was when I was 15. I had like curtains.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you got a picture of that? I promise you, I won't show anyone.
Yeah, I have somewhere, but there's no way you're seeing it. That's going anywhere near you because
it'll be everywhere. I'll get a t-shirt with it on.
I've got something to show you that's going to give you nightmares, Ryan.
Oh, good.
So, we talked a little bit about removing Asterina starfish the other week, and I talked about the little scraper thing, the 3D printer thing. So this is it. This is a free design that you can download off Thingiverse.
That's quite cool.
If you've got a 3D printer, it's really good. So it's got little slits in the bottom.
Yeah.
So when you lift it out of the water, all the water pours out, and that means that the Asterinas stay in there. And it's this is the front lip, really thin bit there, and they all end up here. They stick there. It's really good. The only thing is because it's quite wide. Yeah. And my acros grow close to the glass.
That's what I was thinking.
Parts when I can't get my hand there.
Yeah. So it wouldn't work for me on that tank on some of the tanks where the corals.
It would work on 90% of it, but there are some small patches that won't. You could redesign it so it's thinner.
Yeah.
But the last couple of days I've noticed loads of Asterinas, and it's not a problem. For me, I don't care about it. That's fine. But
is that the tool you use when you want to get them out to send them to other people?
That's it. Yeah. If I'm ever giving you or selling you a frag, I'll do that. I'll scoop them out and then pour like 100 into the pot.
Nice.
But this was just a quick pass. This took me 2 seconds to do this.
Yeah.
And there were loads I missed. This is probably 10% of my population. But it was this little thing is really good.
Well, you were. There's probably less than 10% of your population as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you've got more starfish than sand. I've seen on your tank.
That's when I got a harlequin shrimp first time around. Was when the sand bed was covered in them.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is too much. But I'll never do that again because I got this, and it's just easy to every now and then just to go in the morning and remove it. But I did this because I've had for the last couple of weeks my water level's been rising in the tank because I haven't cleared my weir comb for like 5 years.
Oh yeah.
There's an encrusting aquapora that's been growing on it, and I've been meaning to clean it for like a year. And finally, it's got to the point where I keep getting waters dripping down over the edge and salt creep. And that means that the outside of my tank is always dirty with drips of water.
Yeah.
So before I scrape the algae, I have to clean the outside of the glass as well. Otherwise, I get smears everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's meant that I don't bother cleaning the algae. So the tank's been looking a bit of a mess. And I've had because of that, I've had a load of Asterinas all over the place because they're like, oh, wicked algae. So I had a proper cleaning sesh this week.
I have that same problem, but only on one tank in the coral farm. There's only a tank at the bottom when you first walk in. The coralline grows over, and I have to clean it literally probably every 10 days because the water level starts creeping up as the coralline algae fills in the gaps.
Now, is this on your weir comb?
Yeah, it literally covers the weir comb. It starts. Now I don't do a proper job when I just do this.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
So, and then it grows back obviously pretty quickly. So,
well, I did do a proper job.
Oh no, I don't do that at all. No, I literally just go.
It was a shame because on the left that coral, that's an Optimus Prime acro from Eurocorals, so that's probably worth like 200 quid.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I had to give it a proper clean. But what I was going to say is, have you seen the DD weir comb?
No. Is this the start of our equipment live stream?
It is not. This is just me helping out a fellow reefer. So I was in what's it called, Aquatic Emporium today.
Yeah.
Which is a very good shop you should check out if you live anywhere near Shepperton.
Are they the ones that got that really expensive tank?
No, I don't think so.
There was one shop in London. Maybe it's not them, but yeah, one of them.
It's in Surrey, really. It's not in London, but
okay.
But anyway, I was in there I talked to them about it, and they said, "Hey, have you looked at the DD weir comb?"
Yeah.
And this is it. So it's got a little like an underside weir comb.
Yeah.
So it'll take a lot longer to clog up.
Oh yeah.
So that they're like 20 quid for like 3 foot. So
it wouldn't work on mine though because mine aren't removable, so I couldn't remove it with that piece. If you see what I mean.
Ah, I see.
Whereas on a Red Sea one, you could. You can take that.
Fair enough. Okay.
It's amazing the ideas people come up with sometimes because
literally
who was sitting there going, you know what, got this idea. I'm going to make it so it extends out a little bit, so you'd have to clean it.
Yeah, I'm going to over design it. I use that. I bought one of them ages ago. It's in my water box in the sump because when I set it up, I was using a refugium, so I didn't want strands of Cheeto to go. So that's what I use in there. But I also do you know what? So talking of stuff that's good, I sent you this, didn't I, a while ago?
Yes.
The Red Sea baffle removal tool.
Yeah. Is it still in good enough condition to use after you send it to me?
It is, yeah, because it comes with loads of blades, so loads of spare blades. So I just binned the one that you'd used because I fitted the Clarity on my Cade.
Yeah,
and that meant on that because a small tank and a small sump, the little the filter sock section was right at the back with like a tiny area that you have to squeeze your hand in. It was really awkward, and I almost thought to myself, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to buy a skimmer instead.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know what, let's have a crack. I used this, and I've removed baffles on 4 sumps now, and I've used every method under the sun. And anytime you do it, you go on Facebook or Ultimate Reef and you say, what's the best way? People are like, mate, try cheese wire, or mate, try a scalpel, or try guitar strings.
Yeah.
I've tried every single method.
Yeah.
And the last time I did it, I used a scalpel, and it took about 45 minutes, but it was fine. But the blades kept snapping. I went through about 15 blades, and it's not really very good, but you do get leverage.
Yeah.
This thing, though, they're like 15 quid, or it's just a craft knife with a really thin blade. So you can probably get it cheaper on Amazon or whatever. But bloody hell, it's so good because it's thin enough that it gets between the baffles, but it's also strong enough that it doesn't break, or not so much. And because it's plastic, you can get leverage. Oh, it was.
I'm always worried about cracking the sump when I've done that previously.
Yeah, completely. Because you end up like pushing the baffle like that, don't you? And it's like,
yeah, well,
you can hear it creaking.
And you can, yes, and you just think, oh, I don't mind if I crack the actual piece, but I don't want to crack the bottom of the sump.
Well, there are two. When I've been doing that, and I do that, that's every time I've done it, because you do like 90% of it, then you're like, oh, you must be able to just wedge it off now. But the two things I've been worried about are, one, pushing it and smashing everything, and 2, smashing the glass and then pushing my wrists on and like cutting myself and like.
I've just noticed in the chat, for some reason, people seem to be very interested in what I'm drinking. And what
are you drinking?
I've got actually, see, people normally I do drink wine. This is not wine. This is Jack Daniels and Coke. And the reason I got Jack Daniels and Coke today is because this felt to me like it was going to be an equipment live stream. And you know how I feel about equipment. So the only way I'm going to be able to sit here for 2 hours is if I'm, a little bit tipsy.
I need to be clear. This is not equipment technically. This is about filtration.
Oh, filtration.
It's not about filters.
This is how you trick me.
It's about filtration, yeah.
So far, we've talked about the Clarity, which is a piece of equipment.
Yeah, we talked about the baffle removal kit, which is equipment.
Yeah. So let's see where this goes.
Tell you what, we'll talk about something that's not equipment. And Tom has pointed out that is some crystal clear water on the tank over my shoulder. How do you do it?
Do you think he's being sarcastic?
He might be, because
I'm not
it's
sure.
Like basically a sandstorm. So this is I've said that last week that just had tap water in it, and this week I thought, do you know what? Let's put salt water in it. So that is 1.026 salt water, perfect level, that sort of stuff. And then I put sand in it on Saturday morning. It's Carib Sea live sand. Never used it before. I normally prefer a coarser, gravelly type sand, but I just thought it does look nice, so let's try it.
Yeah.
And actually, I went to buy the Red Sea stuff, the Red Sea Fiji Pink.
Yeah.
But they don't sell it anymore.
I heard that there is a shortage, or like people can't get aragonite sand anymore for some reason. Carib Sea are the last. I was told this by someone who is in the industry, but I don't know if this is just something where they've just told. I don't know any facts about it. Basically, I was told that and it wouldn't surprise me that they are no longer. The only company that has a contract left for aragonite sand is Carib Seas, and eventually theirs will run out as well. Which makes sense if you think about live rock and things like that. So it could be real. It was someone who was selling like sand, basically, so he might be trying to sell me something else.
Buy as much as you can now.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be around forever.
Yeah, but that might be why you don't have it anymore. But that's just a guess.
But okay, fair. Well, they told me, I can't remember what they said in the shop, but it wasn't available for some reason. Maybe it's that. Yeah. But so I bought the Carib Sea stuff instead. and it's live sand. I've never used live sand before.
Yeah.
And so when the first day I put that in, it was sandstorm everywhere. I was like, do you know what? It's just a sandstorm. That's normal. I'll turn off all the pumps. I'll come back tomorrow morning and it'll be sorted. I came down the next morning and it was exactly the same. And then I found this there's a little sachet that comes with it of liquid, and it says clarifier liquid. I was like, right, okay. It must be something to do with the bacteria. So I poured that in, left it for 12 hours, came back exactly the same. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to set my UV sterilizer up because maybe it's there's bacteria bloom or whatever. And I've set that up, but it's not really doing anything. And you reckon this is just you use the same stuff?
Yeah,
and it was like that for a week.
The process. Yeah, it was like literally it was like this for a week. I think I used 6 or 7 bags in the Waterbox tank.
Wow.
I imagine that's only maybe 1 or 2.
One bag, yeah.
One bag, yeah. So obviously I use a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it literally was. It took about a week to clear, which it surprised me. Because I've had sand before and I don't remember it being a week. But look, Bubbly Reef is saying that a week for them as well.
A week here, yeah. I've never used live sand. I've always used just the normal dry sand. I prefer to be able to run it through a magnet and clean it properly, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, very interesting. And
there's always one, isn't there?
Yeah. But yeah, but there we go. So that's it. Turns out that I'm gonna have to look at that for a week. I'll take the UV sterilizer offline actually, because if that's just what it does, then I'll leave it. But yeah, there we go. And that was basically the end of the interesting stuff that's happened to me. But I've seen Woody's gamer tag celebrity in the house. First off, super chat, thanks very much, $5. I have a multi-part question incoming. The super chat is to get attention. Here comes the question for the both of you. Number 1, I need aggression advice for adding a new fish to my tank. My established clown bullied my Tomini tang. Okay. And the fin damage hurt my soul. Next, I put a tang breeder box for 2 days. Since the clown was ignoring her, let the Tomini free, immediate aggression again. So I pulled the clown and put it in a 3-gallon tank. I wonder how big this tank is. While the clown was out, we moved half the rock and replaced the other half. Aside from the extended time out, the clown and rearranging the rocks, what advice would you give me for reintroducing the clown?
Put the clown in the acclimation box this time.
I personally just wouldn't put it back in.
Well, look, clowns can be... Some of them are all right, and some of them are not. I've had one of the clowns that I've had for 10 years bit me for the first time today. And once they start biting, they usually keep biting.
Yeah.
But I don't generally have a problem with clowns because in my tank, they're always like, they're not the dominant fish. Because when you've got like a foot-long sohole tang in there, the clowns feel like they just want to keep their head down. And
Tommy tangs are only little, aren't they? So
yeah, but they should be. I would definitely I'd put the clown, not the clown. I'd put the clown in the acclimation box anyway. 2 days is not long enough in an acclimation box. I think sometimes what happens is people get excited. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's in there now. I just want to let it out." It's best to leave it for at least a week, if not slightly longer.
I've always rearranging the rockscape. I'm impressed that he's done that because people always advise that,
but no one does.
I think God, that's a lot of effort for one bit of aggression. But what I would do is take that clown back to my local fish shop, ask them if they'll give me some store credit. They'll probably give you a third of what they will sell it for in a voucher, and then buy new.
You have no soul. You don't name your. These are my children, my fish.
yeah. But this, well, anyway, whatever. That's what I would do because at the end of the day, aggression is. I just hate aggression in fish tanks.
Would you take one of your clowns back now if it became a problem?
So I'm actually for my Fluva Lever, I'm going to sell them. I'm not going to move them across to this tank. I actually think because as soon as you put your hand in the Evo, that's their territory because it's like this is tiny the tank. So I think actually in this tank they might be fine, but I just think what?
Why did they used to bite you? Because they were tiny
every single time. It's funny because
really?
People say that literally every time I put my hand in, they bite me. Like keep doing it until they get bored. People say that clownfish can draw blood, and I'm sure they can. These they're just pecking. It's just funny because they're only little, but. Oh no,
I've got some monsters. Mine are like your adult ones in the SPS tank, in your main tank. I've got a maroon clownfish as well, which is a beast, but she's good as well. She doesn't bite me. She doesn't bite anything except her husband.
Food. Yeah. But yeah, so that's I would move them on. I'd move the clowns on and get a different clown. But
give someone else the aggression problem is what you're saying.
It might, yeah, well, yeah, but it might not. It might not be the case. They might go back to the shop, go to a different tank, and be okay.
That is 100% what is likely will happen, depending on what fish they go in with. I have a fish which I might have told you a story before. One of the people that follows the channel said to me, he's a fisherman. He said, "I'm going to kill this fish because everything I put in with it, it kills." And he, as I said, he's a fisherman, so he's used to.
Yeah.
It's not out of his.
It's not the same though, is it?
But he had literally a tank with just this fish in it. There was nothing else that could survive because this. And I went, look, if you're gonna kill it, just give it to me, and I'll see what I can do. I put it in with my other tanks, which are much bigger than it. It's a big fish, but I got bigger tanks in it. It's never shown a single ounce of aggression towards anything. Never. Yeah. So, and when the guy came back, he was like, "That's not the same fish." But it genuinely, it really depends on what fish is the top of the hierarchy. And ideally, you want a peaceful fish at the top.
You do that with your chilled Sohal tank, is it?
Yeah. So basically, if you want to have one of the best tanks to get, if you've got a big tank, is a Nasso tank or a lipstick tank, because they're peaceful and they usually you can get bigger ones than everything else you have.
There's always a bigger fish,
and that basically suppresses the aggression from the other fish I found.
Okay, and Nasso tanks are really cool as well.
Yeah.
I like them. They do get big though, don't they?
Well, that's what I mean. You need a big tank for them.
Is it an Acanthurus?
No, I don't think so. It's got.
Doesn't look like it is. I haven't got the name.
No, because it's.
Oh, Nasso elegans.
Yeah, that's probably why they're called Nasso tanks.
Yeah. Fair enough. But there we go. So, just to be clear, Woody's gamer tag says, "I'd throw away the fish. Reef Dork is not going to heaven." Confirmed. I'm not saying I would throw away the fish.
That's what I heard. I heard you said you'd throw away the fish.
I spoke to someone. I bought a frag off someone a couple of years ago, and he told me he was having problems with a 6-line wrasse. I was like, "Oh, what did you do with it?" He said he flushed it down a toilet. I was like, "What? Really?"
You thought that was a good idea?
But if you can catch it, take it back to your local fish shop. Yeah, and like you're fisherman, mate. I know that it's different with a fish, but it's not the same. It's a pet, and like if you just catch it and take it back to the shop, just.
I know what you mean. It's just with the shop. I've actually got 2 of those fish because one was at a shop and the shop gave it to me for free. So I've now got 2 of them.
A shop will almost always, especially if you're in there all the time, shop will almost always take a fish back.
Yeah.
And if it can't, then if it won't, then sell it. Because you've taken, that's not the fish's fault. That's a fish exhibiting its natural behavior. That's your fault because you're not providing the correct care. Might not be like deliberate or whatever, but you've got. I just feel like you need to take responsibility.
If you think about it as well, if you're a fisherman and you're killing the fish to eat them, you're gonna kill this and eat it.
It's not as black and white as what I'm making out, but I just don't like it. But okay, and what did he say? Follow up. So just to be clear, you think it would be better to put the clown in an acclimation box over dumping her in a confused, re-established hierarchy? Yes, 100%. You were saying for a week. Yeah,
at least. Just very quickly, because I want to try and get as much stuff in so we don't have to talk about equipment. How do you feel about throwing coral away then? Because there are lots and lots of people that throw coral away.
So I do it sometimes, but I don't know. So, like sometimes you've got corals that drop off and they just end up on the sandbed, don't they? And it builds up over time, and you've got like thousands. And there are times when I go in, I'm just like, do you know what? I'm throwing it away, and I do throw the Tropic Thunder. When I rip that apart, the whole lot went in the bin. And at the end of the day, that is an animal, and there will be some people who will say, "Oh, it's an animal. You can't just put it in the bin." It's like, yeah, but it's not. And every now and then, I see someone say, "Oh, you wouldn't do that to a dog," when they talk about something they're doing to a coral. I get the sentiment, but a dog is not the same as a coral.
I know. So another thing, very quick, is I don't know if I've told you this already, and you just reminded me from saying that. So obviously, I go to the post office carrying a load of boxes, sometimes up to like 15 of them, that all say live animals on them, and naturally, I get asked all the time what's in the boxes. And most people are just generally intrigued. And a woman asked me, I think on Thursday last week or Wednesday, and she was fine. The woman behind her went, "That's a bit cruel, isn't it?" And I was like, what? You're questioning what I do?
Yeah.
I think because she asked how do you like cut how do you propagate corals, and I said basically it's the same as roses. You cut them off, you cut a section off, and then you. But this woman was like, I don't know if she worked for Peter or something. Like it actually annoyed me quite a lot that she was because she went. I think that's cruel. I don't think you should be doing that.
Okay,
like,
well, you drive on the motorway in your car. Do you ever get bugs on your windscreen?
Oh yeah,
isn't that a bit cruel? You know, it's like but so generally, I don't like to throw away corals, partly because it is an animal, albeit it is very different. But also, but it just feels like it's a shame. It's a waste. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. But sometimes I do it.
Generally, it's like when you're on YouTube, people say things. So generally, I've got a pretty thick skin, but for some reason, this woman got under my skin.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So if you're listening, woman, it's not cruel.
She's hunted you down.
Yeah.
She's like, right, and watch him, see what he says.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I do that sometimes, and I'm sorry, Les. I did. It was the Tropic Thunder, and tell them it's puppies next time.
Yeah. To be fair, what I usually do, I will say I say to everyone, look, everyone always asks me. I always let people guess. If they get it right, I'll tell you what's in it. And I always tell them, but no one's ever guessed right.
Yeah, I bet.
There was one kid who went, "You got coral in that box, haven't you?" And I was like, "How do you know this?" He went, "Oh, I saw you about 3 weeks ago."
Oh, I see. Right, so that's the only reason. And finally, Les says, "I feel bad. I feel like flushing my children sometimes. I don't feel bad." So there you go. But yeah, please do not flush your children. No, that's not what Reef Dork is saying.
Reef Dork is saying it's fine to flush fish.
Before Woody's, no, he's not. Before Woody's game tag says Reef Dork flushed his kids. So, but all right. So, yeah. So I don't know. It's I just Tropic Thunder. The thing is with Tropic Thunder as well. I went through. There was a time when I could sell it really easy. I could take it to my local fish shop. I could sell it online easily. Now, I think everybody in the world has got Tropic Thunder. So whenever I try to sell it, people don't want it. And every now and then, like there might be people in the chat saying, "I'll take it off you." And it's like, but if I were to give it away, there's a free to good home section on the Ultimate Reef website, and I use it occasionally, but more often than not, you get messed around, and then it wastes a lot of time, and it's just not worth it. So there's no real way of giving corals away like that, and I would love to rather than chuck it, but
for me, so sometimes people come to the farm, and if I've got something I want to get rid of, I literally. So today, someone came literally just before the live stream, and I've got a foot long piece of it's a type of Montipora. It's not. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Jedi mind trick Montipora.
Yeah, okay.
So it's literally a foot long, and I just went, "Do you want this?" And the guy looked at me like. He took half of it in the end, which still got rid of it, and I just gave it like for free. Because it's in my interest sometimes. So sometimes it's worth if you catch me on a good day. There's another person who's
have you any jelly bean chalices you want to get rid of, free up a bit of space because I'm up for that.
One of my clients' sons always comes as well, and what he does is he looks underneath the tray and he goes, "That bit of coral, that bit right there at the back that's under there was gonna die anyway. Can I have that?"
Yeah,
and I give it. He's like 13. I give it to him because I just think. I thought, I like his style.
You like his balls, is what you're saying, right?
No.
Oh, bloody hell, you do! Oh, Christ! So, you heard it first, right? Okay. Michael Peachy puts it really well. As humans, we do care. We care for animals based on their sentience.
True.
Which is why people get in a tiz about breeding octopi for food, because it's just anyway.
We also care about on their cost as well, because if you were throwing away jelly bean chalice, people would be outraged.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I would not be doing that.
But if you were,
that's true. That's true. And James says, "Flush coral, yes. Flush kids, no." #Dork advice. Yeah.
There you go.
What would Reef Dork do?
Might get on a t-shirt for you.
Yeah. And then Les says, "Wait till he has kids." I saw this on the Facebook group the other day. John Wright says, "Hi John." He says, "Alex and Ryan, are you going to the 24-hour Markner live stream in September?" This is Mark Malev, I think. I don't know what it is, but I saw he called it Markner.
Is that what it was?
I just saw. All I saw was someone posted a screenshot of a live stream and it said Markner in the corner, and it had Malev on it. So I don't know anything about it. But
I think Markner, has been cancelled. So what's happening is that the people, a lot of the YouTubers and people in the industry are doing like a 24-hour live stream event. We're not important enough. No one's asked us. No. So we might do a rival 24 hours, just me and you, 24 hours straight. Yeah.
Prestigena. Dorkner.
Just because we were offended so that we didn't get asked. We're going to get asked now.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about it, but I'd potentially be up for it. If there's like a little slot or whatever, I'd be up for that. It would depend on time because America's ahead. But if it's a 24-hour live stream, but anyway, I've not been asked, so
we can do the night shift. I was literally it's next Sunday. So at some point we will be on at the same time that they're on.
Oh,
no, it's in September, isn't it? So it's not next Sunday.
In September. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to say we could get them in as a guest onto this, but I don't think it would work because they'd need to have their live stream up permanently. But anyway, I don't know. If I'm asked, I'd be up for it. Would you be up for it?
What will we do it together or
no? If we were asked to join Markner,
as in like this, or on my, I wouldn't want to do it on my own.
Did you not? Okay.
Nah, it's too much hard work to do on my own. It's the same. Right. It's not this. It isn't quite the same. I find I have done them on my own, and you've done them on your own. But I just think it's better when you've got someone to actually talk to.
Very true. Especially someone that because we kind of bounce off each other quite well, I think. So
yeah, you flirt with me.
Flirt with you. All right. So there we go. Well, so we haven't been invited. Boo hoo. But it sounds like it's brand new. So we'll see what happens.
There you go.
What else was I going to say? Okay, so member questions is what I was going to say next. So we've got member questions and things from the questions from the and just stuff from the YouTube Facebook page. Loads of member questions this week. First question, and this is from I Will Never Get a Life, and he says, "Are you ready for this?"
I'm ready for this.
What's the importance of cheese in a grilled cheese sandwich?
I'm going to say very important because otherwise it's just toast.
Exactly. So there you go. Don't have much to add.
Apparently, we can answer any questions. You need sandwich relationship advice, fish advice. We're there for you.
They're member questions, so they're important. And
this is like ask them, don't we?
It's like Ron Burgundy. If you put something on the screen, go fuck yourself, San Diego. He reads it. You put something on the screen, I'll read it. I
might sign up as a member just so I can.
If you sign up as a member, you can post whatever you want.
Nice.
As long as it's not like offensive or too bad, I will read out more or less everything. The second question, and this is you're going to be so chuffed with this. It's from Bubbly Reef, who says, "We need to know: are you really colorblind, or is this an ongoing gag?" And I replied to that, and I said, "Bloody prestige! I'm not colorblind.
Just he not definitely is colorblind.
Not colorblind.
He's just a little bit shy about his colorblindness, But there's nothing to be ashamed of anymore. Just because you identify as a colorblind person, I'm
not colorblind. It was just a gag, and it came because I posted a picture of a sunset Monty, and I said it was red. You said it was orange.
Yeah,
and then
orange.
Most people agree it was orange. I still think it looks red, but I do know that I can see, for example, you're wearing an orange t-shirt.
This is red.
I know, that was a joke.
Good, I've just clarified. But there was one thing that no one has seen except me. You did do a colorblind test once, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It was a really weird one though, because that's the thing. It's not. I was expecting it to be like, is this blue or purple? But it was just a number.
Yeah.
And it said, what number is it? And I was like, am I supposed to be guessing the color?
Now, to be fair, you did pass that test, didn't you?
I did.
But the best bit about the best bit about it for me was that I got into your head so much that you signed up to do a colorblind test.
But also, because I couldn't work out what they were trying to ask me. So they show an off yellow, and I was like, am I supposed to think that's orange? So I was like, is it yellow? Is it orange? I couldn't understand the point of the test, because if you're not colorblind, it's really easy. You can just see it.
Yeah.
But it's not whether you can distinguish between two colors. It's whether grey merges into purple or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there you go, Bubbly Reef. It is official. I'm not colorblind.
And if you see Bubbly Reef's last comment, that's also official.
What's official? Facebook page. We are.
No, it says Ryan, you are wicked.
Ryan is wicked. There you go.
There you go.
It's red. I know. It's banter.
Reef Dork gaslighting. I think that is what that's
exactly. Yeah, this is online bullying. Next one is from Goza, who said Goza G, who says I have a problem child pistol shrimp, that uses my sand bed corals as toys. Yeah, I'm loath to return him as he was one of my first and most interesting pets. They're really cool. I love him. Would he have a detrimental effect on my refugium if I moved him to the sump, or shall I just man up and trade him in? I would personally keep him because I'd move the corals because I love them. But if you don't want to do that, and obviously you're more interested in the corals on the sand bed, he'll just keep doing it. So I wouldn't put him in the sump because they need to be in burrows. I've actually seen them in the wild, and they're at the bottom of the sand bed and all the time. So I wouldn't put it in the sump because that's not fair on the pistol shrimp. So I'd either take it back or give it away to your local fish shop.
Yeah.
Or have it with pasta.
I always wonder why do people put things in the sump? Because it's not like you look at them all the. Do you see what I mean?
It's just
like,
I don't know. It's kind of like
let go of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like a half. It's like I don't want to get rid of it, like I should do. Like sell it off or take it back to my local fish shop. So I'm going to do this, and it is a bad idea.
Yeah,
because it's not really fair on the animal and that sort of stuff. But it feels like a kind of it's just like a compromise, I suppose.
Do you ever put cleanup crew in your sump?
I have a hermit in my sump. I saw someone online say hermit crabs eat silt, and I was like, no way, that's total rubbish, surely.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to test that. So I put one in, and it didn't do anything, of course.
So you've just forgotten about it.
Yeah, and so but then I put, if you ever find like a bad crab.
Yeah,
like a gorilla crab. Or
that's what I do as well. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, they're known as sump crabs. So anything like that goes in the sump. But I had a hermit crab that I put in the sump because he started murdering my conches. But did I take him back to the local fish shop? Did I sell him? I can't remember.
Flushing down the toilet, you told me.
No, I didn't. But I don't keep stuff in the sump. Actually, there was that hermit crab stayed in my sump for ages. For probably a year or so, and I ended up putting him back in the main tank.
Yeah.
So not the one who was killing conches, conks. But anyway, no, I don't like doing that. My answer to that would be probably just take him back because he'll be happier somewhere else in someone else's tank in the sand.
I agree.
Actually, I found out recently that pistol shrimp are fine on their own. They don't need a shrimp goby because my shrimp goby jumped. And the pistol shrimp's been on his own, but he's happy as Larry.
Well, do you think he's going to need therapy or something? Because he's
exactly, yeah. But I just didn't think I'd see him as much because I thought he'd need his watchman. But he's out all the time digging burrows. It's like he doesn't notice. He's like, whatever.
It's just the goby that's like freeloading if you think about it.
Exactly, yeah. So there you go. And he's sorry, I should add. He says he has a goby friend. Oh, cool. If I move him, will this be particularly detrimental to the goby? It'll probably stress the goby more. I would say the goby is likely to be more stressed if it doesn't have its natural companion.
Well, usually
they're quite timid. But shrimp gobies are quite timid anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it'll probably be okay, but it's not ideal. I would move them both on personally. And Bubbly Reef has the next question. How many days did you guys recommend leaving new fishy in the acclimation box? Can't remember and can't find the right live stream. This is your area, Ryan.
So I, generally speaking, will leave them for 2 weeks. If it's something that's very delicate, like a copper band, I would do 2 weeks. If it's if you're putting a tank in with a load of other like territorial tanks, trust me, it's worth it. And then open the box. Literally when it's pitch black and in the morning they don't even notice that there's a new fish in there. The minimum I would suggest would be a week.
The thing, it's so tempting after 2 days or like 24 hours to be like, oh, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah,
but you're literally as long as 2 weeks.
Yeah, literally I'll leave it if it's cloth band 2 weeks every time.
And to be fair, if you're going to do that, if you're going to go to the trouble of doing that, don't just cut it short after a few days. That's a half measure, isn't it? Actually, on the BRS live stream the other day, they were talking about acclimation boxes being massively important. And Ryan was saying the reason they're not sold, the reason no one buys them is because nobody sells them. And I was thinking that might be it. But I wonder if it's just because people don't really talk about it. Because actually, they're also quite. The reason I don't have one, and I've looked at them a lot recently, is because it's another thing to take up yet more space. And after 5 years in this house, 6 years of the tank in this house, I've got a lot of clutter. But I'm interested, and you can get them. So obviously, there's no point in me having one with hooks because it'll leave a gap at my lid. But you can get the ones with suction cups, and you can get their breeder boxes. Actually, they're freshwater breeder boxes, and they're the same thing. It's just they don't have a picture of a coral on it, and they're half the price. So I do like the idea of it.
People don't get them because they don't want to spend money on a plastic box. I genuinely believe that. And the funny thing is, like, you only have to lose one fish, one copper band, to pay for the cost of the box. You see what I mean? So
exactly.
It pays for itself time and time again. And like, you've seen the success I have with copper bands. I've got one in every single tank. Most people can't even have one. So it definitely works for them. With regards to other fish, tangs definitely. If you're adding like a goby, it depends what other fish you've got in there. But most things that won't be interested in a goby, unless you've got like a 6-line or something, which is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Okay. But there you go. So that's the advice on that one. 2 weeks. And the final question from members was from Goldie. Hi guys, Ryan, where did you buy your 600-litre black HDPE tub?
Tanks Direct. There you go.
Tanks Direct. Oh, I've used them. Yeah.
They're expensive. They are
very expensive. How much were they?
I think they were £250 each.
I thought there might be more. I bought like 50-litre ones before, and they were 100 quid.
I remember I get the VAT back, and also it's a tax deductible expense, so it's not like. But like, trust me, to spend £500 on 2 barrels was like crucifying for me.
Yeah, but the thing is, he says he can only find medium density, not high density. Does this matter? And I low density is really flexible. I've never had medium density, but the thing is, I've done the same with buying Tanks Direct tanks for water storage, and they are ridiculously expensive. But they are so worthwhile. And the amount of money I've spent on just the little plastic storage tubs from IKEA, from Homebase, from B&Q, and I go through them all and I'm like, oh, they're crap. Now I must have bought a dozen more plastic tubs like that, and you just go to say, and you save money actually, and buy cheap, buy 1,000 times. So just buy. I would bite the bullet, but bloody hell, 250 quid.
Well, what I thought, look. At some point, I will expand the coral farm. At some point, I definitely will. And I will have some sort of use for. They'll be like the KH dosing containers or something like that. But at some point, I'll have use for them. They'll last for thousands of years. So I will have a use for them at some point, even if I don't use them on that tank. But I absolutely love it. Like, it's literally, I took away a job that I had to do. It was the best money I've ever spent. You might go, oh no, it's not a big deal just topping up your RO, but when you don't have to do it, trust me, you really appreciate you don't have to do it.
I bet. Unless there's MDPE, will be totally fine, as you have to your house if it's fairly new. Anyway, he says it's fine. And John Mike follows up and says, I made my own from an acrylic food box. You can also make one from a salad box from your fridge and use magnet cleaner. Oh, I see. The Acclimation boxes. They're not that expensive. They're like 30 quid. Are you looking at that?
I'm confused by. I know because I connected it. Oh, as in when the house was being built, maybe.
Oh, I see.
I was thinking, oh, you didn't connect the pipe for the coral farm, but maybe when the house was being built,
interesting. Cool. Okay. Well, there you go. So anyway, Les says it's fine, and he apparently knows. So cool. What was I going to say? Yeah. Okay. So those are all the member questions. So now we're going to go over to the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook group. And there was a new member who joined the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook group that I noticed the other day. He's very special.
Oh yeah.
He is almost.
So your mate?
It's not my mate.
Oh.
Not Polo. No. It is Ed Phillips from Reefkeeper Windsor, which is now Reefkeeper Moss End. And I saw his name. I was like, so if you ever see, thing is with Facebook, you never know is someone, have they been in the hobby 6 months or 35 years?
Yeah.
you just never know. And just because someone's been in the hobby for a year doesn't mean they've not got something worthwhile hearing. But you never quite know. But if you ever see Ed Phillips on the Facebook group,
he knows.
He's a safe pair of hands.
Yeah,
he's a really nice bloke as well. I got a lot of time for Ed. He's like, everybody knows, everybody's heard of Reef Keeper Ed.
Yeah.
So he joined anyway. So first thing though, and this is a Reef Keeper Moss End theme, because this was a tank from Bruce King, who works at Moss End. And this is, for a start, he's got 4 angels. He's got loads. 5 angels. A trigger.
3 of them.
So he's got a Regal flame, a gold flake, and then 2 Bellis at the top.
He's got one of those Scarus Kois as parrotfish as well, isn't it? At the front.
No, he's got Harlequin Tusk. That's just a wrasse. That looks like
no, it's in the middle.
Oh, so it is. Yeah, you're right. Bloody hell.
How big is that tank?
I know. Do you know what? Those fish, that looks tall. That looks like 4 foot by 3 foot tall or something. I can't tell. I'm just looking at the lights to.
It's a nicely stocked tank with interesting fish.
600 litres with a 200 litre sump and a 200 litre frag tank. It's 130, so it's just over 4 foot by 80 by 70. That's a nice dimension. That's quite tall, but that's a big tank.
How do you feel about that Harlequin Tusk?
It sends shudders down my spine.
Yeah.
But they're awesome.
He's also got cool fish, but
they're really cool.
You had a mean one, didn't you?
Well, I just had one that exhibited his natural behaviour. It's my fault for putting. I should have had a bigger tank, to be fair, and I shouldn't have put him in with the jawfish, because he ate the jawfish, and then he ate a cleaner shrimp, and he bullied my red-headed Solon wrasse, fairy wrasse, whatever it was. So yeah, but they're awesome. If I had a bigger tank, I'd probably have one. But I wanted to show that photo because it's just a really cool tank for someone. Bruce is a good bloke as well. And he's got a load of frog spawns in the bottom corner, which look cool, and he's got, what's this called? A splendid basslet? Splendid
royal... I can't see the picture.
Back. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, they're cool. He's got some cool fish. I like that.
It is definitely an unusual fish collection for a reef tank.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, triggerfish.
Yeah. It's got some rare. I know 2 of the angels are definitely reef safe, and then you've got the gold flake and the Regal as well. Which the
gold flake, I would have thought would have eaten that trumpet coral down there, but obviously, well, I'm assuming he hasn't touched it because it looks pretty healthy. Maybe it's just scared of going near the Harlequin Tusk. I don't know. But that was one tank that I saw that I thought was cool, and there were more. And this one I really like, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I'm just going to show you it to start with. So this is from Mick DSouza. I recognise that name. I think I've seen him on other Facebook groups. But anyway, what do you think of that?
Is there something specific that I'm meant to be noticing, or
not necessarily? I just thought that's not like the most spectacular tank you've ever seen in your life.
Oh well, don't upset Mick. I think that's a lovely tank.
But it's a really healthy, bright, clean tank.
Yeah, do you know what I like? It's got big colonies. You don't see tanks with big colonies, and although there's a lot more growing out to do on that tank, you see loads and loads of tanks with loads of 50 little frags in it, and you never see them all grown out. Whereas that's obviously clearly there's quite a few grown out corals there. And
it's a mixed reef, so he's got soft corals, LPS and SPS, all looking pretty healthy, I would say.
And not too many fish.
No, not too many fish, but some cool fish, apart from the pajama cardinal, which I don't like. Sorry, Mick. But what was I going to say? So this is a budget tank. He says this is his low-tech budget reef tank. It's been running for 17 months. Filtration is a canister filter. Lighting is 2 Fluval Marine 3.0s. That's it. Yeah. 2 Jecod wave makers. I love Jecod wave makers. 2 cheap heaters, and then a water change. That's it.
I'm interested because it says phosphate there, but his phosphate looks like it's very low for a tank with a canister filter.
Let's have a look. Phosphate
is it 0.06?
0.08.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's still low for a tank. Normally, tanks with canister filters have nutrient problems.
My phosphate's higher than that. But that was a cool. It's a really clean tank. The water looks really clear as well. I mean, they're top down. Maybe it's because it's shallow. I don't know. But there was something about that. That just stood out to me. It just kind of caught my eye.
I quite like tanks that don't have loads of fish in them.
I do and I don't.
Some people they look less busy. Loads of fish is really busy. And I'm, you know, obviously what's happened with the Waterbox tank. I'm actually considering now, like, having a more minimalistic. I don't know, maybe like. Well, let's put it this way: the cleanup crew is dealing with all of the algae. There's not a hair of algae in there anywhere at all, which means I don't need tanks. I can leave the same.
What about when you start feeding more heavily, though?
I'm still feeding a cube, just a 1 cube of mice, just to because I want the nutrient levels to be the same. Is that your beard turning up?
Thanks, wife.
So I'm still feeding just 1 cube, and I just thought if I could literally put the angel in there and have just the angel with a load of coral. I'm not going to, or just the angel with a load of coral and maybe a few fish swimming around. Like
you could have like a dozen fish or something, and in that size tank, that would look quite minimalist.
Yeah. Basically, that's why I won't go with just 1 fish. I'm too addicted to fish. But you see what I mean, where you can have a really minimalistic tank with just 1 showfish in there.
Do you know what looks really good is very few fish and a lot of fish. Most tanks, my tank is in between.
Yeah.
But if you see a tank with a ton of fish, they look awesome.
Yeah.
Like Polo's Reef, for example. Or if you see a tank with like what's his name? Coral Euphoria has lots of in his SPS tank. He doesn't have many fish.
Yeah.
And that looks really cool as well because it draws the eye to the corals, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what would you have? Obviously not angels.
I thought about having just the king eye and maybe like 10 antheas, but then you'd have to feed a load more food to have 10 antheas. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
as I said, I'm still a bit sore about that tank. So
yeah, I know.
It's fine. I'm moving on, and I actually quite enjoy all the cleanup crew watching them. You learn to. I think I said this last week. You appreciate the smaller things when you haven't got the bigger things.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what your wife told me, I think.
Well, a few things. So Bubbly Reef says, thanks, wife, good lord. And Mick says it's not a canister filter, it's an internal filter. And it's got loads of fish lore, but they're hiding. Interesting. So that's an internal one of those little like the ones that you had in freshwater tanks.
So all the things we liked, we've just been told are not correct, so now we don't like anymore.
Well, some of the things, but anyway. But yeah, that just stood out. I like that. But there we go. And the next thing on the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook page, which you should join if you're not, it's just a friendly place. It's cool.
Have you seen any negativity yet?
No, not a single wiggle.
Yeah,
so I look at it all day, every day. Well, not all day, every day, but I click on it a dozen times a day, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's just everyone's just nice and friendly and happy. It's just wicked. I love it. I absolutely love it.
You know what I do like? I like when people ask us questions and someone else comes back with the answer.
Completely.
Because remember, we're just 2 people, whereas there's like 900 people on that group. So if we don't get there quick enough, someone else will answer your question.
Yeah, and people chime in, and people like to help people on that group. There's a couple of so I've had a few private messages lately, and someone posted me a private message the other day, and then posted to say they'd sent me a message. I just don't read them. There are so many things, so many ways of contacting me and comments and all this sort of stuff on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everything. YouTube is the main thing, of course.
Yeah.
So I have to draw the line somewhere, and I draw it with private messages. But if you can put anything you want on the Facebook group page. There's nothing that I won't want apart from sales and marketing. And what else was it? Oh, I can't remember. I'll just obviously not being nice, but post it on the page, and I'll see it. I might not reply, but I'll see it.
When people tag me in it, I obviously see it. People tag me in it, and if someone else has replied already, I don't reply if they've answered the question correctly.
I don't tap like on the.
I don't need to chime in if you see what I mean. But it definitely is. So definitely for me, I get emails all the time with coral identifications, and without coming across rude or anything, that is not the place to send them. The place to put these is on the Facebook group, the Facebook group, because then hundreds of people can reply. Yeah. Because I don't know. Sometimes people go, "What's this coral?" I'm like, I don't know. What do you want? Yeah. I can't help you, I'm afraid, because it's usually they're like, is this this one or this one?
Oh yeah.
Rather than is this a frog spawn? If you see what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah, but anyway, it's just it's cool. Anyway, 2 people posted independently making their own coral food. Fish food. Sorry.
yeah.
The first one, have you ever made your own fish food? Like go to the supermarket and chop up a squid?
I actually turned. This is an insane thing to have done. I somehow managed to turn nori into flake food by essentially cooking it and then grinding it up.
Oh, really?
And the fish would eat it. Now, I have no idea if it had any nutritional value to it.
Yeah, you cooked it out.
But what was interesting was garden eels. Garden eels don't eat things usually.
So cool.
And we tested it at the fish shop, and I put some in the tank, and the garden eels were eating it. I was shocked.
That's interesting.
So, but I did that probably 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so the 2 people have done it. First off was James Rackham. Nice little cubes. So this is just, I presume that's an ice cube tray or something. And there were loads of people saying what they put in: salmon, all these sorts of stuff, liquid vitamins, spirulina powder, all that sort of stuff. And then the other one was this one, and this looks like fish pie to me. I'd eat that. And this was from Anton Smith, and he puts in 15 prawns, 8 squid rings, 4 nori sheets, 3 cloves of garlic. Don't put garlic in. It's actually probably bad for fish, rather than
detrimental for them.
And then leftover frozen fish food. So
I'd be interested in how dirty these foods are.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because I assumed that when you put them in, because they've all been blended, like a cloud will come off.
That's what I was thinking. And I was thinking about that. I was like, well, in a way that's good because your corals will do it, but you might give you nutrient problems. And I wouldn't, although that sounds on paper, that mix sounds great. There are some people like Sanjay Joshi, for example, or Mike Paletta, who make their own food, or Worldwide Corals do. Those are the people you want to listen to. I'm not saying James isn't. He might be a marine biologist for all I know.
Yeah.
But you want to listen to Worldwide Corals because it's like that. It's 24/7 is all they do. Yeah. But I just thought it was interesting. I've never made my own fish food. I've been tempted, but I don't. That's basically it. I'm just going to go poof and get a cloud of.
I need
fish
to because feeding the fish is one of the most expensive parts of running the coral farm. I get through 8 cubes a day now.
Bloody hell.
As well as pellets, nori. So I just think to myself, is it because I think it's like £3.50 for a pack now, and I go through it probably every 2 days or every 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's and as I said, the pellets I think cost £23 for a pot that lasts about a month.
Do you still feed your corals?
I don't feed the corals anything. Only the fish.
You used to feed Reef Energy, didn't you, Red Sea?
I use that, and I also used Benny Pets.
Benny Reef. Yeah.
I use that for a period of time. But my issue is too much growth rather than too little growth these days.
Funny. Yeah.
Because, see, like a lot of people say to me, "I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about getting into the coral farm business," and I go, "Fine." Like I genuinely, it doesn't matter to me if they want to do that. But I tell them the honest truth. It is easier to grow corals than it is to sell corals.
Yeah.
You have a huge outlet to get rid of them. Some corals grow very slowly, and the ones that grow very fast, everyone else has already.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I mean? So the benefit that I have is that the YouTube channel, similar to yours, a lot of people will be looking are beginners. So those beginners don't have Hystrix and Digitata and Xenia, and these are some of my biggest sellers. So those people aren't so much on Facebook forums. I guess I don't know for sure, but yeah. So that's why I don't feed the corals.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But there you go. So fish food. The next one is this is another tank from Bogdan Borta. Is how I'm going to pronounce it. And what do you think of that?
That I like that a lot, actually.
See, that to me, that's a really good photo, actually. And he's put his what's it called when you overlay a signature on it or whatever, watermark on it. So he might be like a semi-pro photographer or whatever. But that's a really good photo. But again, that's a really clean tank. A bit different. Again, mixed reef. So he's got anemones, he's got soft corals, LPS, SPS. He's got some cool fish.
Do you know what that tank needs? It needs some wallpaper behind it with some birds on it.
that's a point. It's a peninsula against the wall.
Yeah.
In fact, no, it's not a peninsula. He's just got a tight. Oh, do you know what I saw? He's got an external Weirbox thing. Let me see if I can get that up, because that's all 4 panes of glass. Actually, there you go. That's his. Yeah, it's quite cool, isn't it?
Very sleek looking, isn't it?
Must take a lot of cleaning.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure I'd want it on display like permanently, because mine would go green because I wouldn't clean it.
Well, I'm looking. To be fair, because on my tank, I don't know about you, the sides and the corners of the tanks, there's always a bit of algae there. I'm looking close. I can't see any. He keeps that clean. There's an Australian guy who's a freshwater aquascaper. Oh, what's his name? Mike. His tank looks like that. You know, what I mean? You're not really a YouTube nut like I am. His tank looks a bit like that, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's just cool. It's freshwater. That looks like inspired by freshwater to me. Actually, just one last thing: a Colostrea trumpet coral.
Yeah,
that shows how nice a simple beginner hardy coral can look when it grows up.
That his trackers look a little bit unhappy. Usually they look like that if they're lacking nutrients.
Do you mean a bit thin? They're not very puffy.
Yeah, or it's either too much light or not enough nutrients. But if you go back to the other picture, I actually like this tank a lot. You've shown plenty of tanks to me before, and they're all okay. But I actually quite like this one a lot. They need the blasto screw out a little bit in the bottom, and then it almost like that completes the tank, because there's this little tiny gap there. But yeah, it's not super fancy coral either if you look at it. So, and it's not really hard coral to keep. No. So I think he's done very well there.
The only thing with that is there's a few corals in there that grow a lot. So fast forward a year.
Yes.
And this is because my tank's getting to that point where it's a mess of overgrown corals. But anyway, it's cool. Yeah, I like that. So thanks for sharing, Bogdan. And then one last question. And this was from Sander van Kammen, which I might be mispronouncing. Apologies. Do you clean your sand bed? And he's got a Valenthiana puellaris, which is that big goby, big fat, massive one. Do you clean your sand bed?
I do not. I've not cleaned any sand bed I've ever owned ever.
Okay.
The sand bed is always set up between 1 and 1.5 inches. And I have some snails in the sand. I do not recommend any sand sifting fish. They either jump or starve usually. But if it's between 1 and 1.5 inches and it's a fine grade, you don't need to clean it. So it'll be interesting to see what you do with that tank behind you, because obviously you're starting again.
Yeah. So I probably won't. I might every now. So on my main tank, I don't, because I can't even get to the sand bed. And I also use an automatic water changer. Exactly. Too many rocks in the way. But and I use an automatic water changer anyway, so I don't get to use a siphon. But I've never had a problem as a result of it, as far as I'm aware. But who knows? Maybe every now and then I have a coral mortality because I've got crap in my sand bed or whatever. But anyway, I don't think it's a problem. I've never really done it. On the Fluval Evo, every now and then I'll do like a little area the size of a golf ball. That's about it. I don't know. I've never really done it.
Have you ever properly cleaned your tank? Like, I think we may have discussed it before, where so you think you're doing something good, and then you've disrupted something, and then you get like a bacterial bloom or something like that.
Maybe, but not that I can think of. I probably have.
Does happen sometimes. If you have a sand bed which hasn't been cleaned for years, and then people one day go, "Oh, what I'm going to do? I'm going to clean that sand bed," and then it causes them loads of problems.
But that's what people recommend. The people who clean sand beds recommend you clean, I don't know, 10% at a time. So every week you clean a third or a quarter or a fifth, and then you just shuffle along. And then every week you clean the next fifth, and then the next fifth the next week until you start again. So that's what the pros recommend. I just can't be bothered with it. But it probably is a good idea, to be fair. But I don't know, there are some people like, not just random people, some people who know their stuff, who say you shouldn't clean your sand bed. I think most people probably agree that you should. But
as with all parts of the hobby, you can be successful in any way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's true. You want to clean your sand bed, clean it. If you don't want to clean it, don't clean it.
There you go. There's your answer. Which means that we have now completed the Facebook and member questions. Thanks very much for all your contributions. Keep them coming, guys. Oh, and also, we'll come on to the news in a minute. We've got a couple of bits to get to before then. But what I've noticed is people have started posting news stories in the Facebook group.
That's cool.
Which is brilliant, because then if I miss it, I'm going to see it. So thank you for that, guys, and keep doing it. It's cool. But we are now going to move on to the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week. What you got for us, Ryan?
I want a jingle for that.
I know. I need to get
your own jingle. I don't get a jingle when you.
Shall I record at my own jingle, like a voiceover that's like the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week?
Or you could just say it. But so I've gone this week for a fish that many people probably won't have heard of or even seen. This is a Ballina angelfish. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm showing it is because I didn't know what it was until about a month ago. And when I first saw it, I went, oh my God, I need to have that fish. And then I found out that they're not collected for the hobby, which is why no one's ever seen them.
Interesting. Okay.
There's only a very, very small population somewhere, I believe. I think they're from somewhere near Australia, maybe. But it was a long time ago I learned about them.
East of Australia,
yeah.
Lord Howe Island.
I just thought I want to use this as a way to show people cool fish, and I think it's a cool fish. It looks like a panda.
It does look like a panda with a yellow tail. It looks like. So I said earlier, it looks like a not the Mitratus, the Burgess butterfly.
Yeah. So I'm interested in people in the comments. Do you think that's a cool fish, or do you think that's not a cool fish, and why? If you see what I mean.
What you're saying is you want a poll.
Yeah, because I genuinely love that fish, but it might just be because it's something I've never seen before.
I think it's cool. If I was voting on this poll, I'd click cool. But it doesn't. That to me is like, that's cool. Okay, next fish. So it's not like I don't look at that and I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, but you look at a scarlet hawkfish and go, yeah, that's amazing. So we all know you've got terrible 100%. Taste.
They're awesome. But yeah, it's cool. I would vote cool. So
the other thing I want to know, and this will have to be in the chat, is have you seen that fish before? Did you know about it?
No.
I mean, I did post on my Instagram once, so maybe if you follow my Instagram, you might have seen it.
James says sea panda.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
But yeah, so I think most people won't have done. But if you have seen it before, tell us about it.
They should be a breeding project, because we can breed angelfish now. So why not?
Interesting. Well, why not? Because they're not collected.
Yeah, of course.
So and you need two to start. I'm not a biologist or anything, but and I will never get a life has seen it. And Les says Reef Dork only buys fish that fits down his toilet.
I swear Les is like your number one troll.
I know, yeah, he is, isn't he?
But we let him come anyway. So
exactly, yeah. So 90% of people think it's cool.
Yes, there you go. We can have a poll each week. Is this a cool fish or a not cool fish?
Most of it, you'd have to do. If it was like a frog fish, I'd be not cool. But most fish, I think, it would be cool. But anyway, all right, I'm up for that. I'll leave that running for a while whilst we do the Prestige Reef Coral of the Week.
The Coral of the Week, I decided to go for a jawbreaker mushroom.
I've got several pictures. You're gonna have to tell me which one.
Well, that's fine. The reason I said jawbreaker is because a lot of people are buying jawbreakers, or what they think is a jawbreaker, and it's actually an eclectus mushroom or electus.
Yeah.
Now the third picture along is that one there. Yeah, that is a jawbreaker, and the one at the bottom, two down below it, is a. I'm not sure if it's an eclectus or electus.
I think it's electus, but I might be wrong.
It's being sold as a jawbreaker because people are googling jawbreaker and wanting to buy it. But
can you tell because of the mouth? What's the difference?
It's the color of them. One of them is like proper orange and red, and one of them is like gold and red. So when you see them side by side, there's a clear difference.
What's this one?
That
jawbreaker? It looks like a jawbreaker.
It's got green in it, so it's probably got some other crazy name to it as well. But yeah, that is a jawbreaker.
This one's this is the photo I bought, by the way.
The one on the left of that is also a jawbreaker. It might be your right. Yeah, that's a jawbreaker. Yeah.
Jawbreaker. Okay.
But yeah, so if you see one and you want, see, the thing is, jawbreakers are more expensive than the other type, so you want to be paying for what you're getting, if you see what I mean. That's why I thought I'd use it as the coral of the week to give. It's like a public service announcement.
So I know nothing about mushrooms, apart from the fact that they're actually anemones, not corals.
Right.
Hashtag reef builders. But what was I going to say? Do you have any of them on your website?
No, I used to have them, but not anymore. So
disappointing. I think I've seen the one you had. I thought you still had it relatively recently.
No, I haven't had them for ages. Every so often I'll keep something for a long, long time. And I'm like, nope, this is mine. I'm not like, you can't buy it. And then someone will come in and they'll go, look, I'll give you this much. I'm like, okay, twisted my arm, you can have it.
But there are other times that you'll say no. You'll be like,
okay. Plenty of times, loads of times, people come in and they like, I almost get enjoyment out of it. It makes people want it more if I say no. Look, don't get me wrong. Sometimes if it's something like a pink Alveopora, which I haven't seen again, I've only got a small colony of it, and I can keep growing it and fragging it, I won't sell it. But if it's something like that beautiful red and black Lobophilia, yeah, you might be able to get on with that one.
Tyler Garden says that quite often. He says every now and then he'll sell a coral that he gets a big offer for, and he regrets it. Like years later, he's like, "I wish I hadn't sold it." But you're a shop at the end of the day, aren't you? So
yeah, see that because the other thing that people don't realise is there is always a risk for me that the coral will die. Now, some of these corals I've had literally for 14 years. But sometimes you can have a coral for years and years. It's growing, and then all of a sudden it will die. And you might have had 4 or 5 offers on that coral, and each of those you said no to, and now you've got nothing for it. So
yeah. Okay.
Now, generally speaking, unless it's a something like a Trachophilia or a Lobophilia or something which is sort of one of a kind, most corals come around again. Even if I wanted another jawbreaker, I could find one somewhere. Right.
Yeah. Okay. And Bubbly Reef's made a good. I've ended the poll. 87% think it's cool. Bubbly Reef says the poll should be: would you buy this fish? That's a better question because everyone's going to say cool.
That fish is a fish that probably only Polo can afford. Because if they did get one in, could you imagine the cost?
Well, it's illegal, I'm guessing. So
yeah, well, it is illegal.
The cost is 5 years in prison. Or
yeah, you know what I mean. Like someone will get one in for scientific purposes or something like that.
Scientific purposes.
Well, they probably are trying to breed them. There probably will be somewhere. It's just not for the pet trade.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. So that is the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week and the Prestige Reef Coral of the Week, and we all know what that means. It's the news. And slim pickings in the news. Actually, there was the story that you showed me, and I've just realised I deleted the bloody link on the main story I wanted to.
Did you find the up-to-date story, or did you find the old one that I showed you?
I found the old one.
Oh, well, as I said, there was an up-to-date one, but I don't know where it is. I saw it on Instagram.
I couldn't find it, I'm afraid. But anyway, so the old story.
Possible not news is what you mean.
Yeah, possible. Who knows? Don't really know, but it might be. And I can't find. That's really annoying. I can't find the.
It's a white long-nosed butterfly, isn't it?
Yeah. No, well, that is. I was trying to look for something else. So there was you said you saw somewhere, and I'm actually seeing.
A bit ambiguous now, isn't it?
You might be lying, but you saw a white long-nosed butterfly.
Yes.
So out yellow longnose.
Yes.
So this is a photo from 5 years ago, by the way.
Yeah, this is an old one, but I saw. So I follow a few fish collectors on Instagram, and one of them posted this up, saying it was a recent collection. So that's why I thought I'd show it to you, because these obviously, for people who don't know, although most people will know, these are normally yellow.
Yeah.
So to get an all white one's pretty cool.
I've never seen an all white one. I haven't seen this photo before you told me about it. But you said you saw it on Instagram. I didn't see it anywhere, but one has been collected and probably is on his way to Polo.
Oh, possibly. But have you seen? Do you remember they called it a Picasso sailfin tang? Remember that? So it was the Desjardins sailfin, which was white.
Okay.
Are you Googling it now?
I am.
and I know Polo paid an extortionate amount of money for it. It's now almost completely.
Oh, didn't you say this last week? This one?
Yes. Oh, did I say it last week? I can't repeat myself. I'm like an old man. I saw it. Yeah, I did say it, didn't I? It's now almost completely like a normal one.
Yeah.
And so imagine the cost of that to then just have a normal sail fin. You'd be so mad.
Yeah. But then he's had 5 years or whatever, or a few years of it looking like a normal one. Actually, do you know what? This is a better photo. That looks cooler.
He did say in one of his videos that he does find that quite a few of those tangs, I don't think he's buying them anymore, because quite a few of them return back to their normal color.
Interesting. That's so weird, isn't it?
Casper has changed color. You know, the one at Worldwide Corals.
Yeah, he's had yellow spots come back, hasn't he?
Yes, but he usually goes back.
Yeah, because he's special.
Yeah, he's the one who made them so famous.
Yeah, this is true. There's a highly watched video on him on YouTube somewhere. The other thing that I saw this week, and I actually originally saw it on what's his name, ACI Aquaculture posted it, and it was from Biota. And this is relevant for you. I can only find the article on Reef Builders, annoyingly, but it is a captive bred kingy eye angel.
I saw that. Yeah, it's so little.
Look how tiny it is. And so normally when fish are that size, they're just like transparent. They look awful.
Yeah.
But you can tell that's a king.
Yeah, it's got his coloration. I did see that the other day.
That's really cool. Just
this is what I mean. If they can breed these angels now, there are plenty of angels which are extortionately expensive. Usually because they're either difficult, they're like deep water ones, or in like obscure places.
Yeah.
I think that they should be focusing on breeding those, and they probably are. Someone's probably doing it.
But why though? Because if to start with, they're going to have to be expensive, and there's only a handful of people who can spend 10 grand on a fish.
Yeah, but if it's going to cost you the same amount to breed a emperor angel as it is to breed a £50,000 angel, like, why not breed the more expensive one?
But that's like, because you'll sell 1 million emperors, and you might
not
even sell one.
If you lower the cost, you might.
Yeah.
Because you'll get, if you, in theory, you should get just as many of that fish as you do of emperors. So why not grow a fish of higher value? It's the same as yellow tangs. Why weren't they growing gem tangs? Because at the time, gem tangs were a lot more expensive.
Yeah, I think they just do it on whatever's the most popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I take the point. And then the other piece of news was, and I've done that thing where I see a picture and I'm like, that's cool.
You don't read it.
So I don't actually know what it's about, but it's called the TSA Coral Smackdown. And I think the idea is that
I have read some of it.
I see this. I read the headline. The TSA, Top Chef Aquatics in America, Florida, Miami, Florida, wherever, they've started a competition where they give a load of frags to aquapora frags to 6 YouTubers. Or like people on YouTube, and it's like a coral growing competition, basically.
It'd be interesting to see.
It'd be really cool. So for a start, it looks like it's Polo Reef, Queen of Reef, Inappropriate Reefer, Mystery Guest in the middle, Remy from Reef Builders, and then that guy, I think he's the Coralito from his t-shirt. So those are the people who are doing it. I don't know if they're opening up to the public or if it's just these 6 people.
It's probably just those 6 people. Otherwise, how would they monitor it?
Yeah, this is true. One more thing: the contestant will be competing against 5 well-known. Oh, so it's one person. I don't know who that person is, but they compete against. Yeah, it's just those 5. So there you go. Oh, I think you have to enter, and then you compete. So a normal person,
one of those normal folks.
Yeah, no, normal people will be competing against the proper people. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I reckon Remy's got a good chance of winning that. I don't know why.
He's not really. I think Polo's surely the favourite because.
Yeah, well, I thought that. I did think that, but then his angels also eat stuff.
But I'm guessing he won't put it in his main tank because a 1-inch frag will disappear.
Yeah.
And so of those. None of them are really like specialist aquapora keepers. If it was Coral Euphoria,
I was hoping he was
it'd be 6 feet across within a week.
Yeah.
But so I'd be interesting. And Jeremy Gay, friend of the show, posted that on Facebook, and he said we need that in the UK. There actually is a coral growing competition in the UK, run by it's on Ultimate Reef, and it's run by in association with the UK's #2 coral selling website, signatureFrags.co.uk.
He would not be happy you said that.
I'm only joking, and
I know.
It's a good thing. But and it's a very good website, and you should buy corals from them because they're really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they do that. There's a competition on Ultimate Reef. I've not checked on it for a while, but there's a nice acro frag that he's made a load of frags of and made them available at a reasonable price for the purpose of this competition.
Yeah.
And there's, I don't know, 50 people entering it, and that's interesting.
It'll be interesting with regards. I haven't seen that one, but with regards to the TSA one, I saw the corals they picked. They're not the easiest corals to keep. So I wonder how many of these people are going to come back and go, yeah, the coral's dead, because they're acro.
It was a splice acro or something, and that's the thing. You put them on in my tank when it's set up for acros, there's a fair chance it'll die.
And how many of them they come back and they go, this is the coral, but it's just brown.
Yeah, or like there are times when it would go in my tank and it would just sit there and not grow for a year. So
I'm not sure I'd want to be part of this competition if I was any of them, purely because it's very public. So how many of them have come back and
only be embarrassed?
Either it's dead or not the right color. That's why we'll see. Coral Euphoria, as I said, I would have been who I put my money on.
Yeah, but he's not. He's not part of it. That's basically cheating if it was him. But interesting. I like the idea. And so, in terms of doing it in the UK, it's on Ultimate Reef. You'd have to get it properly popular. You'd have to invite people from the internet.
I might do the Tropic Thunder. Yeah, give everyone a piece of Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, exactly. I would win that hands down. But if you did that in the UK, there aren't so many like celebrity, like YouTuber types, social media types.
You mean not normal folk?
Not normal, special people. So I don't know, but it's cool that it's on Ultimate Reef. So there you go. You can go and check it out. And Bubbly Reef was on it before he. There's an idea for your Tropic Thunder frags. Wow. Easy growing that. All right, so there we go. That's the. Is that all of the news? It was all of the news. Oh, in that case, I need to get the news banner back up. So there we go. It's slim pickings in the news lately. I don't know if it's just because it's the summer. There's normally of stories though. So
it's a shame because I've been trying to run down the clock on purpose, so we'd have to talk less about boring stuff, and we're exactly where we would normally be at this point.
I know. So it hasn't worked. But so we're going to talk about filtration this week, and we'll keep it fairly brief. But the reason I was doing it is because I'm trying to work out what filtration to run on my Cade, and it's only a 100-litre tank. Normally, I would run a skimmer on most tanks.
Yeah.
But I've struggled to get skimmers working properly on small tanks before. Like 100 litres isn't a lot, 130, I think it is, something like that. So I don't know about that. And at the moment, I've just got a Clarity filter roller. That's it. And I might have that as the only thing. What filtration do you run on your tanks?
Right.
Skimmer and a phosphate reactor, I bet.
Well, the Waterbox has a roller mat, skimmer, and and a phosphate remover. I do have bags of carbon, but I don't put those in the reactor. I just have bags of them.
Yeah, okay.
And then the rest of it is literally all like just the sand and the rock work is where all the bacteria lives. And the coral farm is basically the same, except instead of having roller mats, I've got filter floss. That's it.
Oh, really? How often do you replace the
Not often enough. Once a week, I replace.
You should do it more.
Well, having said that, it doesn't. It's a huge piece, so it turns brown gradually as it goes along. But so the water's still going in, but the first bit's dirty. If you see what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't have a problem with nutrients and things like that, so it's obviously working. What
are your nutrients at roughly?
The nitrate is the one I struggle with the most, which is it's usually between 2.5 and 5 is where I try and keep it. Do you struggle because that's lower than you'd like, or that is lower than I would like? Yeah, as in it comes up as saying 2.5, and I'm like, oh, this is getting too close to the edge, basically. Sometimes when I stopped, I lowered the amount I was feeding to reduce the phosphate. The phosphate is around, it fluctuates between just over 1 and just under 1, as in 0.1.
0.1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not 1.
yeah, 1. Yeah,
it fluctuates. You have to be very specific with numbers in this hobby, don't you? Because otherwise it could be misconstrued. But I want it to be around 0.08 is where I want it to be.
If you could press a button and turn your parameters, your nitrate and phosphate to a certain level, what would that level be?
0.08 and probably around 10. No, 0.056 for phosphate.
Okay.
And why are you laughing? I don't know. That's what I've aimed for, basically. But because I have so many fish, I struggle with that.
Yeah. I think I would be around 0.03 to 0.05 for phosphate. And then 2 or 3 for nitrate, because it's an SPS tank.
Yeah, see, on the LPS tank, there's definitely a noticeable difference. When you lower the phosphate, the LPS just do not like it.
No, okay.
And sometimes I just wonder, I'm like, am I actually doing more harm than good trying to chase this number? Or should I just leave it as where it is and just get on with it? The problem is when I go away, so obviously I went away for a long period of time, a few times. And when I come back, the phosphate is always like through the roof. So then I have to spend months slowly bringing it down, which is obviously what I'm doing. But it always goes, sometimes it's like really, really high. So, well, high for me, maybe not high for you.
No, well, so I was just looking at my averages over the last, this year, basically, this calendar year. On my main tank, my average nitrate is 8.5. My average phosphate is 0.24. I'd really like that to be lower. It's coming down, but just like I've been saying that for 5 years.
I've always said your tank is like some sort of magic tank. I just don't get it how it looks so good.
Yeah, but it's there. Maybe that's why I'm having problems with various things. But anyway, so I would like that to be low. On my other tank, my LPS tank, my average nitrate is 19. Don't know why it's so high. And my average phosphate, you're not going to believe this, 0.55.
1.55
for the last 6 months.
Do you not use any phosphate remover?
Yeah, I just don't change it often enough. Well, it's simple, but for the most part, everything does well. And if everything's well, I just think, well, I'm not going to bother changing it.
Yeah. See, that's it. That's an interesting approach, because you said for the most part, everything's well. And then what will happen is you'll lose one coral, and then you will forget that you lost that coral a month ago, and then you might lose another coral, and you've forgotten you'd lost that one.
See, and this is, I'm always torn. And like with that, simply, I do try to get my levels down, and actually they were a lot worse than that. If I'd have done the average 3 months ago, it was a lot higher, and the average now is a lot lower. But I tend to think as long as everything's okay, that's cool. Yeah. But there's no, and I'm loath, if one coral is dying, I'm loath to change everything just to try and rescue that one coral.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if that one coral is dying and my parameters are not good, then I don't think it's a bad thing to try and chase better numbers, because it might just be that that's the first domino.
Yeah, and it's just worth. It's only going to get worse if you don't deal with it, basically. It's the same as anything. If you ignore xenia or green star polyps, it'll get worse and worse and worse. Sometimes there's things that are a bit of a pain in our hobby that we just, because the thing with phosphate, you have to keep on top of it. You have to keep testing it, and you have to keep changing your phosphate remover. And you do it for the first 2 weeks, and then you go, "Man, I can't bother this anymore," and it goes back to what it was before.
That's my problem. I'm going to tell you since April how often I've tested my phosphate. 7th of April, 28th of April, 5th of May, so just I was away most of May.
Yeah.
1st of June, 19th of June, 20th of July. So I test it twice a month on average.
That's
not
March,
I tested it quite a lot. February, bloody hell. I tested it every week, January, February, March. And then I got bored of it from the looks of it. But so twice a week, twice a month, that's not really enough, because the problem is, if you're testing it every week, you see the trends, and then you change your ROAFOS. And I just don't do that often enough. I really should get into it. I'm getting better.
I like testing every week, because if you're trying to change something and you're trying to change it slowly, as with phosphate you should, it it shows you that it's working. Even if it's only come down slightly, when you get your result, you're like, yes, it's lower than it was last week, so I feel good. Whereas if you wait 2 weeks,
yeah, exactly,
it's not, you don't get the same.
I'd really want, so I'm likely at some point to get the Refactory Smart Tester when that comes in, and that will test phosphate as often as I want, basically. And I love the idea of having maybe even 2 or 3 phosphate tests a day. Because I'd like to see if it changes throughout the day. I assume it does, but maybe not much. But anyway, not throughout the day doesn't really matter. But I love the idea of having one every day. So for a month, you can see basically it going up and up and up. That would be fantastic. I like the idea of that.
It'd just be a pain to have to do it yourself.
Yeah, Opinionated Reef says 0.1 to 0.2 is ideal, not 0.903. I think he's talking about for SPS. So I don't agree. Because and this is so Coral Euphoria did a video about how to keep SPS corals a while ago, and he said that basically he looked at the top 15. I think he chose about 10 or 15 tank of the month tanks from Reef Central back in the day.
Yeah.
And he looked at what they run for skimmers, filtration, lighting, the works, and everybody more or less did the same.
Yeah.
A load of light, a load of flow.
Yeah.
And the parameters, the average parameters, phosphate was like, they were not, nitrate was like 1 part per minute or less than 1 average. Phosphate was 0.03, really low.
I just wonder how many of these were true though. Because
this was, I think that was legitimate. These were people like Keith Berkelhammer.
No, of course. But if someone's going into a magazine or to be tank of the month and they go, What's your parameters? They go, oh yeah, they're really good.
No,
really good.
It's just a forum. So, and people like Keith Berkelhammer's, he's not going to be there like pretending he's got low phosphate.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
I think that's reliable. But basically, and this is the reason I'm saying that those are better for SPS anyway, is because that's what's worked for 20 years. A lot of the talk at the moment is of higher nutrients working. Yeah. And I don't have high nutrients because I think it's the best way to do it. I have it because it's working on my tank. Yeah. And I don't put in enough effort to bring them down. But if I was trying to aim for a parameter, I'd watch that Coral Euphoria video and aim for whatever he said, which is really low.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also don't like, because I've had a couple of bad experiences with nutrients bottoming out, I don't like to get too low in case I push it too hard and then get dinos or stripping or whatever. So because the closer you run it to 0, the more on the knife edge you are.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But for filtration, so those are kind of, I suppose that's the levels I run and the levels I would like to have. But for filtration, I tend to run a skimmer on almost all tanks. I've got into having a filter. In fact, I've got a filter roll on all my tanks at the moment, and I do like them. But I don't know. Have you ever noticed how effective they are at nitrates? I don't suppose you've only just used one on your Waterbox.
Yeah, it's hard. It would be hard for me to say.
I couldn't say.
I've just remembered, which I actually do. I think it's worth you knowing this because obviously you're starting a new tank. Since obviously I had the issue with the Waterbox, I've been able to adjust parameters much easier than if I had, because you can just do what you want basically within reason when there's no fish in there, and it doesn't seem to affect the urchins, or you can use lanthanum chloride, things like that. I strongly advise for anyone who's starting a tank to try to get on top of your nutrients before it's too late. Get ahead of the game. Because even if you've got rock in there that's leaching it or something like that, it's best to deal with it at the very, very beginning before you start putting corals in, because that's when you can do basically whatever you want, can't you? Within reason. Whereas once you have to be a bit more delicate once you put corals in. So I just and although I do have some Millepores in there, they are doing okay. Although they've gone properly pastel coloured, like properly pastel. Like the ultra low pH.
Yeah, like KZ.
Because I wanted to get the phosphates like 0.02.
So is that where your levels are on the Waterbox?
On the Waterbox, yeah, but there's just a couple of frags in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd be interested to see. What I've actually done is I think I might have mentioned this last week. I've moved some of the colonies over of those as well, and there's a huge color difference between them. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes them to change to a lighter color.
Yeah.
It's been a week so far. They don't appear to have changed at all.
No, okay. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. I might start using Blue Life Flux RX at some point, which is lanthanum.
Oh yeah.
If I get data that's testing phosphate all the time, I'll feel more comfortable with that because it can strip out your phosphate quite quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. I've experimented with lanthanum before, but it makes me nervous. I've experimented with carbon dosing before. I don't like it because it's too aggressive. And if you take your eye off the ball, which I do, it strips everything out. So
it doesn't do phosphate as well either.
It doesn't, but this did both. But generally, I've always found it better at nitrate than phosphate. Supposedly, it does both, but that's not my experience. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but
I think it takes out a lot more nitrate than it does phosphate, which means to lower your phosphate, you would have to strip out your nitrate. You'll bottom it out. So
yeah, I'm sure there are people who want it successfully. Bio pellets are carbon dosing as well, and that's been around for a while. But I don't really know much about it. I just if I don't like it, I don't use it. I tend to have skimmer, and a phosphate reactor is probably all you need on most tanks. Maybe a filter roller if you're feeling fancy. But I do have I've just switched to a refugium on my LPS tank because my nitrites are always quite high, and I don't think they're harmfully high. But I think a refugium will probably do a little bit more for nitrate and phosphate. So I think I'll see that start to come down. But a phosphate reactor is just the way. But BRS always talk about how all you need is a refugium and that will sort all your phosphate problems. I just don't agree with that at all. Maybe if you set up an enormous refugium, because they did an experiment that proved that to be the case. Maybe if you set up an enormous refugium that is basically your entire sump with like 500 watts of light or whatever. But I've tried it with big refugiums, taking up half my sump and a lot of light. And it's just it always does more for nitrate than phosphate. Always.
Well, there happens. It's hard for me to comment.
No, but so I think really the answer is for most tanks, for almost every tank, have a skimmer and a phosphate reactor, and test regularly and adjust accordingly. And that's probably as complicated as it needs to get.
Have you seen Julian Sprung's refugium where it's next to his tank? It's like I'm pretty sure it like started off as a refugium, and then it looks like a display tank. I'm pretty sure. I think it's Julian who's got it. It's got like mangrove in it.
Oh, okay. I can't see on the internet pictures, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because refugiums are kind of cool, but they're cool they're like interesting rather than decorative, if you see what I mean, rather than pretty.
Yeah.
So like I like spending time looking in my sump because you see weird critters there, but it's not pretty.
yeah, I know what you mean.
Lou Eckes was Steve Webb says Lou Eckes was advocating regular carbon dosing on the BRS chat. Well, that's because he runs a company that sells. But I watched the Reef Dude's live stream, as I'm sure many people did, where he talked about what all the different types of tropic marine carbon dosing was. And I've said it before, tropic marine are terrible at the marketing side because you look, their carbon dosing products are called Elimi MP, Bacto Balance, like NP plus or whatever. It's like, what the hell does that mean? And then when he explains what they do, it's like, oh, I see. That sounds brilliant.
If I ever get into the supplement market, it'll be Prestige Reef Phosphate Remover. There you go.
And that's the thing. And most companies will call it like phosphate plus, phosphate minus. And it's unoriginal and it's generic, but at least you know what it means. But anyway, I watched that and I liked the idea of it, but I ended up stripping out my nutrients.
Yeah. I didn't realize for that. So I was using Red Sea's No-Pox. And I now look back and know that I was definitely like using too much of it because the corals were like properly pasted. This was years ago.
Right. Okay.
Especially pink hystrix. Pink hystrix under in low nutrients is like properly pink, whereas it's more of like a brownie pink in higher nutrients. So it's very easy with carbon dosing, as you say, for things to go wrong, basically.
I say if you're testing regularly and you're keeping your eye on it, it's probably great. But I'm too lazy for it, frankly. Estonian Reefers super chat £2 in support of your next Grail coral. Thanks very much. What is my next coral that I really want? I don't think there's any corals at the moment that I'm like I really want.
Toxic splatter frammer that you're trying to get from me. You mentioned at the start of the stream.
That's a nice one. But I don't think there's anything that I'm like, oh, I really want one of those.
Well, you've obviously not been down recently enough.
This is true.
Got a nice bi-colour gonny for you. Don't you worry. Plenty of stuff for you.
You've got a nice Monty that I could buy.
Oh, what, the bit that I'm giving away?
Juggernaut.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yes, yeah.
But yeah, so actually, what I'm going to do on this tank, on the Cade, is I'm not going to have a skimmer because I don't want any noise. And sometimes people will say, "Oh, get this skimmer; it's silent." And what they mean is it's quieter than the rest of my equipment. But in this room, I say all the time, this is a quiet room. I don't have any noisy equipment at all. So anything that makes any noise, I can hear, and I can always hear. Even a Deltec skimmer, the 400i, that's a quiet skimmer, but you can still hear it going just quietly. So
does all of that not annoy you?
No, because that's like every couple of hours it goes. And then
I know that annoys me. I'd rather have a consistent noise, rather not that loud. But
but the thing is,
I just hear.
I've got the two roller mats I've got up here, the Reef Factory and the Clarity.
Yeah,
and they're both much quieter than the Red Sea one. The Red Sea one is like, meh.
Yes, the Red Sea one is exactly like that.
But that doesn't bother me. But it is quite noisy. But maybe it would bother me up here actually. Although I did have a Red Sea up here, and I didn't notice it bothering me. But the Clarity in particular, in fact, the Clarity and the Reef Factory are both really quiet. Probably as quiet as each other.
Is the Reef Factory one as easy to change the filter as the Red Sea one?
I've never changed it.
Oh.
But I did it when I made the video about it. I simulated change, but the only difference is I didn't have an expired roll to take off.
Yeah.
And that part is sometimes quite fiddly.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that part, but it's got a removable central section.
Yeah.
So that part was easy. So it looks easy, but the Red Sea one's just a really clever design.
Well, that's what I mean. There was a noticeable difference. If someone said to me, "What roller mat should you get?" I'd go Red Sea one. That's why I've not seen. I've not seen the other ones other than the Clarity.
I would generally say the Red Sea one. It's just the only reason I would say don't get the Red Sea is because it is big. So I ended up on my water box. It basically took up the entire sump, but it wouldn't even fit on my Cade. And it's like, if it's that big, if you've got a big sump like a 6-foot tank or a 4-foot tank like we have, fine, they're wicked. Yeah. And that's the one I would go for. If you've got a smaller tank, I would look towards the Reef Factory or the Clarity. Probably the Reef Factory, I think, is better than the Clarity. It's a bit more advanced. But the Clarity is nice and simple. It's a few quid cheaper.
Yeah.
They've all got pros and cons. But that's about it for filtration. I kind of keep it fairly simple, I think.
Yeah.
And it's more about testing. Filtration is more about testing than what equipment you get, because like the other thing I plan on doing on this tank is water changes, probably about 20-25% once a fortnight, and that is filtration.
You're not going to get fed up with doing water changes in all those tanks.
Yeah, a little bit, but I probably on the tank downstairs I do every week, almost without fail. Every now and then I miss one. Probably
that's because of fear. You worry if you look at it wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah, it's because I've got an auto water changer, so it's really easy, and I've got into the habit. But I probably do 48 water changes a year out of the 52 weeks on that one.
Yeah.
On these two up here, I probably do one every 3 weeks on average, every 2 weeks maybe. I aim for every week, but I probably end up every 2 or 3 weeks on average.
That's why your phosphates are so high.
It's not. It's because I'm not using ROFOS and I'm not testing, or not enough ROFOS. But yeah, it is a pain in the backside. Having 3 tanks is a bit of a pain, to be completely honest, because there's a lot of extra maintenance.
Yeah.
And even things like changing the ROFOS, it just get. Well, I say ROFOS. What I really mean is NIOS Fuzzy X, but just like ROFOS is like an umbrella. It's like Hoover, isn't it?
It's cleaning the glass that gets me. Oh, it's like 2 hours every week.
2 hours.
It takes me 2 hours to do it properly. Remember, if I leave it all week, it has like a proper film on it.
Yeah, bloody hell.
And I usually clean it on a Thursday or a Friday, ready for the weekend for when people come. Because most people come at the weekend.
If you did, that's because it's quite hard after a week. If you did it twice a week, would it be much easier? Or
it probably would be, but I can't use it. The corals have grown onto the glass. I have to literally do it by hand. That's why it takes. It's not like doing this. I have to go around them.
And that's a really tedious job as well.
Sometimes it can be quite fulfilling because it's like instant gratification. You walk in, it's clean, and you leave, and it's clear. But sometimes it is one of those jobs where I'm like, oh, I should just pay someone like 10 quid and just get to come and clean it.
There must be some kids who do paper rounds or whatever.
Oh yeah, some nice child labour, eh?
Exactly. Exploit child labour. Like there's a 15-year-old kid somewhere getting paid 10 quid to do a paper round.
It's probably easier. Yeah.
When you get used to it, you'll spend half the time, and I'll give you £11.
Yeah.
You probably get paid more than £11 for a paper round. I got paid £5 when I did mine. It took like 45 minutes. It was like actual slave labour.
What, £5?
This was like in 1927 when that could buy you a black and white TV. But yeah, that's a tedious job.
Yeah. So I got a lot of tanks. So
yeah, and it's your job. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not just a job in inverted commas. It's an actual job.
Yeah, but everyone has a job that everyone has some part of their job that they don't enjoy. Even you will probably have some part. You know, you're a hotshot lawyer.
I am an ex-lawyer. I'm a non-practicing solicitor. I'm a hotshot something else now.
Yes, so I'm sure there'll be parts of your job that you enjoy, and there'll be parts that you don't. So
I love everything about every part of my job.
Most people would do it for free just for your company. There you go. Who wants to come clean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Trust me, his company is not that great.
No, and let's put it this way: if you're cleaning it, I'm going to be in the house doing something else.
Yeah. Maybe you could give away a piece of plating Monty every week.
Do you know what I should do? You know the kid who comes and does all the he wants all the coral frags that are on the thing.
You want that? You got to work for it.
Problem is, he lives about an hour and a half away, so
it's a long way to go. It's a long walk.
Yeah, true.
Let me have a look and see, because someone else said, Bobby Reef said that phosphate, that her refugium doesn't control phosphate. I'm going to do a poll. No, actually, no, I'm not going to do a poll because it's not macro. But I wonder, it's in the chat, if you run a refugium, does it do a really good, really effective job on phosphate, or does it not do an awful lot? Let me know, because I don't think it does. I think there's maybe the 1% have it if you've got an enormous refugium. I also wonder, when I put a refugium on my water box, a few of my gunnies started sulking like within a week, and it might have been a coincidence, it might have been something else.
Yeah,
but I did think, I wonder if that's because the refugium is stripping out all the trace elements like iron, manganese, iodine, various things like that. So there's just, and I've bought this stuff, Cato Grow, Brightwell Cato Grow, and this has all sorts of things like iron, cobalt, molybdenum to help coral growth. Cato growth. So I wonder if, and I've not started dosing it yet, but I wonder if that might be good.
Well, I'm sure you'll update us.
I will indeed. But to be honest, I don't think there's much else to say on filtration. I do think filtration should be simple. And it's easy to think that you need, when you see some sumps, you might see like 3 or 4 filters.
Yeah.
And really, I think most people should have a phosphate reactor, a skimmer, and that's about it. Maybe a filter roller, and then some activated carbon for water polishing.
Remember the days when people used to pack their you went around then? They packed their tanks full of live rock because that was what was the filter. They didn't have a lot of choice. The
Conscientious Marine Aquarists by Bob Fenner, like a classic book, and that was Berlin Method, was just a butt ton of live rock.
I remember when there was no way to reduce nitrate. There was no carbon dosing when I first started, unless I just didn't know about it. But I'm pretty sure there wasn't, and there was just no method to lower it.
Do you know what? Sipperax. Did you ever use Sipperax?
They're those round
hula hoops. Yeah, they're sintered glass, and they're actually pond filtration. Hello, Fred Titmus. You come in for a chat, mate? But that got really popular in Brazil about 5 or 10 years ago, and there were some stunning Brazilian reef tanks. Oh, we got a cat up here that ran Sipperax, and it became really popular because of that. And I used it. And I found it really effective. Let me just share. So this is Sipperax, hula hoops, basically. It was pond filter media, but it made a comeback because of these reefs in Brazil. And what you do is, let me see if I can find a better picture.
Is it?
No, it's not cheap, but it's cheaper than a skimmer. So this is, you can just about see it there. People make cases out of egg crate.
Yeah.
And then what you're supposed to do is pack it all in.
One at a time.
Really tight. And then run very, very low flow through it. There's a brilliant picture, in fact. Top right corner, there you go. Run very, very low flow through it. Keep it in an area of low light so it doesn't get blocked with algae. And that takes care of nitrate and phosphate. And I found when I tried it, because it was like trendy, almost, and I was relatively new, I found that extremely effective. So effective that I had to pull a load out because it was too effective.
Interesting.
I couldn't tell you whether it made my tank look good or not, but I can remember it was very good. My nitrate and phosphate was very, very low.
Why did you continue using it?
I'd still have some in my sump, but I don't use it in that manner because maybe I don't know. I don't know. I have quite a lot of flow through my sump.
Yeah.
Because I just have a lot of flow through my sump. So I don't know why I stopped using it, but people stop using it generally. But I don't know. It worked. And let me see if I can find a Cyprax tank in Brazil. Because in theory, if it's just bacteria eating the nitrate and phosphate, that's the perfect way to do it. It's like carbon dating, basically. Oh, here we go. Yes, this is a Cyprax tank from 2012. Wow. But I think we can all agree it's a nice tank. What do you think of that, Ryan?
It's hard to see because the reflect. Hey, look! Oh, that is a nice tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do Control F. Cyprax. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's
I think the two sidewalls bits are like the two side panels are enclosed because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see through them.
Yeah, that's packed full. But he does use Cyprax, so that was the kind of tank that sprung this Cyprax trend. But I don't know why it dropped off, and I don't know why I stopped using it. But I don't know. But I think there are other ways. You don't need Cyprax, to be fair. Maybe it was just like I felt like it was trying too hard or whatever, because it doesn't have to be complicated. It really doesn't. You can overcomplicate it, can't you? But there we go. So show us the cat then. Well, I can't because I can't angle my camera, unfortunately. But he is here. Hello, Fred Timmers. Timmers. He thinks he's getting food. Anyway, I don't have much else to say on filtration, Ryan. Can I assume you are?
Thankfully, you've got much else to say. Oh, I struggled through this last half an hour.
I know. I appreciate it. Well, we'll do it. We'll do. If you want to suggest a topic for next.
Whoa! No! I like the surprise topic I get sent every week.
Just sneak in the homework for Ryan there. Yeah. We'll do a Ryan friendly one.
Yeah, I like. Well, what do people want us to talk about? There you go. Put it on the Facebook forum or wherever you want in the comments.
I tend to pick stuff from the Facebook group, actually. People post stuff and I think that's interesting. Let's talk. It's not that they're suggesting it for the live stream. They're just talking. I'm like, cool, let's talk about that. So, but you can suggest
what you're saying is you cheat on your homework.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm saying is I talk about what the people want to talk about.
Oh, I see.
Because I am hashtag Reef Dork, hashtag man of the people. But I love that. So if you got stuff, tell me a topic you want to talk about. I can't talk about everything, of course, or if you just talk about stuff generally, we might talk about that. Especially if you can find something that Ryan will like.
Yeah, true. So, find something I like.
Find something I will do. All right. Well, Ryan, thank you for joining as always. Pleasure to have you on. And everybody, thank you for coming along. And we will catch you next week.
Right.